So when I was about 10 years old, so I want to say fourth grade, I was really close to my neighbor from across the street. And we went to the same school together, and she was the first and only person whose house I was allowed to sleep over at because my parents were super overprotective and strict. So they really had to get to know her parents on a personal level before letting me sleep over her house. And so her parents and my parents became friends, and then she and I became even closer friends because we would go over to their house often for barbecues, and we would work on homework and class projects together. So we were really close friends. And one time, it was another classmate's birthday party who lived right around the block. So we walked to the party, and afterwards, we were walking back home, and it was me, my best friend, and her two sisters, walking and talking, chatting along about the party. And they were walking at a relatively fast pace, which I was having a hard time keeping up with because, like I mentioned in my previous videos, I have cerebral palsy. And although it's really mild, it still does affect me in a lot of ways. I walk with a limp, and I tend to get winded pretty easily if I've been walking at a fast pace or if I've been walking for a long time. And so I guess that one of her sisters noticed that I was having a hard time keeping up. So she said, "Hey, maybe we should slow down because it looks like she's struggling a bit." And so the topic of my CP was brought up, and we kind of talked about it a bit. And then my best friend at the time said something along the lines of, "Yeah, the only reason why I hang out with you is because I feel so sorry for you." So she basically said that the only reason she was my friend was because she felt sorry for me. And that was extremely, extremely hurtful. That just goes to show you that the most hurtful words or actions don't always have to come from um, from a bully or from your enemy. They can often come from the people that you're closest to. And I know that a lot of people are going to say that kids are kids and they make mistakes and they say dumb things that they don't mean all the time, which I know is true. But I also know that for the most part, kids are brutally honest. And I feel like this was one of those times when she was saying what she really meant and how she really felt. And that was that she was only my friend because she felt sorry for me. And that was really hurtful because it confirmed my worst fears at the time, something that I had been feeling all along. Growing up, the people who talked to me, most of the people who I came across, were in one of two groups. They were either bullies who actively and openly poked fun at my disability and at the way that I walked, or they were people who would approach me, asking me why I walked weird and what was wrong with me, who would always approach me with that sympathetic look on their face, like, "Oh, that poor little cripple girl, I feel so sorry for her." And that is what my life mostly consisted of. But to hear those words from a person who I was so close to and who I considered my best friend was beyond hurtful. It was beyond anything that any bully, it was more hurtful than anything any bully had ever said or done to me because I cared so much about her. And I never told her how I felt about what she said that night. She moved away shortly after, and I want to say that our relationship was severed after that, even though I continued being her friend. I never felt the same about her afterwards. But I never told her how I felt about what she said. And I have her added on social media, but at this point, I really don't think she'd even remember if I brought it up. So really, it'd be pointless to even mention it. But that just goes back to a point that I brought up in one of my previous videos about pity friendships and the fact that we as disabled people don't want and we don't need pity friendships. I would rather be alone and have no friends at all than have people who only hang out with me because they feel sorry for me. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to be accepted for who they are, and they want people to be around them because of who they are, because of their personality. You want to be liked for you. And people with disabilities are no different.